Which is our construction update. Mike Dingle-Dine is joining us again this evening. We're all very excited to hear the progress that has been made, although many of us have been able to see some of it in person, and to see what is on the horizon. Mike, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Good evening. So we're at a good time. We're at the start of school, and both our high schools are in use and teaching new children and being what they needed to be. And yet it's a very difficult time because we're in the midst of two very complex construction projects. So I'm going to give you a little update tonight and talk a little bit about the things that are happening and the things we're doing about what's happening. I always start with this slide that our design goals when we started this were personalizing student experience, achieving sustainability in our schools, retaining the existing asset values in our schools, improving site traffic and building life safety. And the bottom one is the one that sort of keeps us up at night right now and gets us up in the morning because we're being mindful of it. And that is how do we accommodate continuing operations in buildings when there is construction going on around our education process. So that's pretty much what we'll talk about tonight. There's the three things that we have to be mindful on every day, and they're the things that we don't control at the end of the day. Mother Nature and weather, the global supply chain, which has become a much bigger challenge than it ever used to be since the pandemic. And then the last one is really personal between constructors and architects, and that is the jurisdiction having authority, because they have the ability to exceed what the building code says. They have the ability to ask us anything and cause us to do anything, and we're always on alert for how do we make sure that happens with the least amount of disruption to the projects. So I'm going to start with the natatorium. It's going very well. This is the site. Oops, is it? Here we go. This is the site. It's a little easier today than it was for the past year. All of the Thomas High School construction is happening behind the green building. The green building is the active Thomas High School. It consists of the brand new 3-story academic wing in the middle, the athletic wing on the left, and the east classroom wing of the old high school on the right. But it is all acting today as one high school in green, and we have accommodated all different kinds of things. The front of the building is no longer staging like it was for the past year. It is band practice and staff parking. I know it's caused some concern to people who see paving in the front grass of Thomas High School, but be assured that all goes back to the grass that was there before when we're done. The natatorium is actually pretty easy. It's in a very tucked in, completely surrounded, controlled site at the corner. You drive by it every day. There's a little bit of lay down happening way up by the field house at the top of the student parking lot. That just gives us room to keep materials that are being delivered out of the way of the construction. So this is the location. We moved the pool a little bit further away from the outdoor pools, a little bit further away from the existing natatorium, and that gave us a huge advantage in terms of how we dug out the site and how we created the foundations for the site. There we go. It's being one behind me. There's the picture overall. You can see the context of the natatorium with the outdoor pools and the new Thomas in the back. This is the view from the road. And last week when I was there, this was what I saw, the masonry up near the top of the wall. We did have a delay. Here's a Mother Nature one. We had our foundations fill with water with a few continuous rainy days. We haven't had those lately, but when we had our foundations dug, we had some rain problems. But we pumped those out. We got past the rain, and the masons got on an accelerated schedule. And when I went by there today, there it is. It's almost topped out. That's the view from the front of the natatorium. And so we're back on schedule thanks to the masons sort of picking up the pace after we had a brief delay with the foundations. This is the back, but the front door of the natatorium. And here's a picture looking at that from that same view. Again, today, this is a week and a half ago. Today, those walls are all up to the top of bearing. So we're pretty excited that this is going well. And again, it's contained and it's an easier project by far for those of us who are working on the two high schools. Our indoor pictures, again, 10 lanes, pretty nice. We're going to have a really good ability to use this facility. All of our activities are parallel to the raised upper spectator area, deep diving, deep swimming lanes, deep water polo lanes, and swim training and swim warm-up lanes that aren't as deep. We have it all in this. And again, it's pretty flexible and pretty adaptable. And it's going to be pretty well noticed in the swimming scene in Columbus when it opens. Some more outdoor pictures. Again, some of these are 2 weeks old, but again, everything's going well, and they're leaving out a little gap for where the pool construction goes. But as you can see, all the existing underground work is done, all the foundations are done, and masonry walls are really up to the bearing point at this point. And we're tucked in tight and behind fencing for this entire operation, so no impact on the rest of the operations of the site. So moving on to the high school. And again, as I said, here's the old picture of the site, the 850-foot wide east to west existing Thomas, going to a new school. This is what we worked on. This is what we got accomplished in this past year. And by the way, Mr. McManus, Matt, incredible job building a 3-story high school right next to an operating high school and doing it in 1 year and getting kids in it first day of school. That is pretty remarkable. So thank you, sir. I'd love to take credit for that, but that was all him. So here's today's school. We have, again, the west is the existing gyms. You might call them gyms, but 1/4 of the auxiliary gym is the band room. These are the kind of things that are happening in this school. And I just met with the 2 band directors today. We were talking about finishes in the new band rooms. And they started out with how thankful they were for what's coming at Thomas High School. And so I thought, these 2 guys have to work in 1/4 of a gym for the next 2 years. And the first thing they said to me is how thankful they were with what's happening. So I thought that was remarkable. The new school connecting, you see across all 3 stories. And then the old east wing we call the LEM. That's where we're using a lot of space for swing space, and obviously still is our current kitchen and active cafeteria for this building. So we're things are going well. We're connected internally, and the new construction is all in that U shape. So everything is safely tucked behind the building now. The front of the school is a little bit of space and still things happening, but for the most part, we have a very contained site for the next 18 months to 2 years of construction. And here's what's coming next. The blue area you see are the 2 next phases, the cafeteria, the administration, the media center, and then the fine arts wing, all getting completed between now and the end of the project. And then the last thing we will do is tear down the LEM, the last vestige of the old Thomas High School, and build some additional staff parking there. So everything remains on track for our completion date at the end of this. And every day we are mindful of what it takes to turn left or to turn right and be very flexible in terms of what happens to keep kids safe, to keep learning happening, and to keep construction moving. So here's the overall picture. Our biggest challenge when we took this on, not only was it just a very impressive site with a very impressive project need, we wanted to make sure the scale of this building read well from the distance as you drive by on 161, and it does. I'm very pleased with that. But also as you get closer and closer to the building, the scale breaks down and exposes more detail in brick coursing, more detail in window mullions, more detail in stone treatments, and it does that very well. The closer you get, the more you learn about the building, but when you're far away, it still reads very, very well from 161. So as architects, we're very pleased with the way the scale of the building unfolds as you get close and far away. Sometimes you get too close to buildings that read from far away, and they look terrible up close because they're too impressive, they're too overbearing for human scale. And this building doesn't do that at all. You can walk right up to it and touch it, and you feel like it's still human scale as we're working with it. So love this, and love that the grass will be back and all the trees have been protected, and this will look like this high school appeared behind that beautiful front yard, which is one of our big goals from the very beginning. Get inside the school, the 3-story scale impresses you, but it also works at a student level. So we have very bright hallways, very bright windows. We get lots and lots of daylight in this school. Those windows in the front that read all the way from 161, they do great when you get to the classroom scale level. Lots of operable windows and lots of daylight coming in classrooms. These are science labs, very big, very different from what we came from. Teachers have already started making rooms their own. Every room has a different layout of desks. Every teacher is using different things to decorate. Even a teacher putting up lights, it's hard to see here, around the perimeter of the windows. It's great. They're making this their own. That's a great thing for architects to see, is that people move in and they adapt to their new space and make it their own. These are kind of new spaces. These are the teacher work areas. And so teachers not being dedicated to one classroom from beginning to the end of the day, they all have a professional space to come back and work. Lots of teachers unloading this day, I even saw Josh Elmerson helping teachers bring boxes in and delivering Amazon boxes to teachers in the school. They were all helping each other. Again, a very thankful group of people moving into a brand new space. Particularly like how the hallways undulate in terms of very wide areas and more narrow areas, but no place did they get narrow like the old Thomas was. The minimum hallway width here is 10 feet. And in this location where there are a few lockers and classroom doors, it's up to 15 feet. This was delivery day for the shop, so the equipment is being unboxed, but it hasn't been put in place yet. This is a computer lab right next door to the wood shop. Again, lots of daylight coming into the building at all different levels. Simple colors, just the reds and blues from the brand guidebook, and then the light colors that make the building read very well. All of our group bathrooms, I've been listening to talks about the future of restrooms in public schools. They all have the universal bathrooms in front, so there's a way to accommodate all folks in all ways in the bathrooms of the school. This is our new card center, a really big space, great environment, very quiet, and lots of supporting spaces around it. These teachers who are in these support rooms off the card center, we're very excited about the chance they have to work with kids one-on-one. And then the last picture I took that day, because this was the end of the hall, was the weight room. And again, excited kids for something as simple as lifting weights. And I know that's not simple if you're an athlete. Okay, Kilbourne. Again, much harder to do because it's all existing. Much easier because we're not building any new infrastructure, and not very much. But in this case, we decided to make this a continuous project where we would move out of several areas of the building, finish them, move to the next group, finish them, move to the next group. So this is complicated, but again, the school folks and Eric have been very, very cooperative in terms of being improvisational when it comes to figuring out how to do all this. And so we still remain where we want to be on this. I got to go back one. The orange and the blue areas were this past summer's projects. They're all complete, save one thing, which I'll talk about in a minute. And we have moved now into the green and yellow areas. So this phase that we're in now will finish the second floor, and we'll be able to move down to the first floor and do the same thing, three different colors at a time. We'll race through this building, and again, in late 26, we will have an entirely new Kilbourne High School, as well as a new Thomas. Here's the one thing, and it goes back to the web of project and what's the word I want to think of? Yes, thank you. So our flooring did not come in. They confirmed it twice. Russilli confirmed it a third time. We had everything scheduled. We were ready to install furniture and install technology. Jeff Collette was standing by with his wagon of parts ready to put in computers, and we had to go ahead and do that because the flooring just did not come. So we're going to have to pick a time this fall. We're near the break in the middle of the semester, and we're going to have to put the flooring in these rooms. But you'll notice brand new lighting, brand new HVAC, brand new furniture, brand new casework, just not brand new floor in every space. This was an old locker bay that is now new breakout rooms for students. Just a unfortunate situation with the floor. It takes a little of the joy out of getting all this new space, but it is, in fact, something we're doing the best we can to adapt to it. And again, feels great to have all new rooms with all new systems and all new technology. And then the last thing, the jurisdictions having authority slide. Very lucky, go back one. Very lucky that about October of last year, we decided to split this porch construction away from the permit to do the renovation to the rest of the high school. The reason is one of the authorities having jurisdiction is the Army Corps of Engineers, and they typically take 6 to 8 months to give you a permit to disturb a stream, which we have running underneath the existing Kilbourne. So we did separate that permit, and we're about, we think, 2 to 3 weeks away from getting that permit. So we would, if we hadn't split the two buildings into two permits, we would have just been waiting to start Kilbourne until now. But unfortunately, there were a lot of people getting their heads together who thought that would be a good idea to split this permit up. So it allowed us to keep going with the project on schedule. And now, right on schedule, we should be able to start this outdoor porch construction because of the permit that's coming. So 3 things I thought of as I was looking through the slides and walking through these buildings is the first part I talked about earlier, being just mindful of things that can come, things that can go wrong, things that can go right, and then not trying to solve them yourself, and that's being transparent. it's really surprising when you come to a steering meeting in this school district and you say, this is our problem, this is our challenge, and you get great ideas from Jeff, from Tim, from just everybody in the room. And so it's really incredible that we aren't solving our problems ourselves, we're working as a team. And then as I said today with the folks that we're meeting from the music department, they started out the discussion and things that they wanted to try to do differently with thankfulness for what they were getting with these new schools. Same thing with Jeff pushing his cart around Thomas the other day. He was happy about the last minute work that he was challenged to do. And Josh was carrying boxes for teachers. And he said, put the box down and said, I just want to tell you how thankful we are for what we're getting in this district. So I think that's great. I think our success definitely is hinged on the fact that our partners here, the owners, the stakeholders of the Worthington School District have been very, very helpful in being part of the solution, part of being successful. So questions you might have.